Hi, everybody. It's Monday. This would usually be the day after show, but it's the day of show. The Browns are yet to play as they're coming up at 8:15 on ESPN, and I'm sure everybody will be watching it. This is a perfectly timed show to talk about the Cleveland Browns, also to talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and to compare the organizations and to give you the complete understanding of why I personally believe it doesn't matter what the Browns do. The Browns are not going to win tonight. The Browns are not going to win for a while. The Browns are a shabby organization, and they are not deserving of the fans' adoration. Let's just put it that way. But I have good illustrations for you to explain why. Joining me on the panel right now, Double P and Bronk in England, and want to start out the program with this little piece of news that the Ravens have acquired Roquan Smith in a trade with the Bears. He's the leading tackler in the league. He's 25 years old, and that's a great move by the Ravens to solidify a position that they've had trouble with Queen, that they haven't been able to get that dominant middle linebacker guy. So there you have it. The Ravens have acquired a very good football player, gave away, I think, like a second and a fifth for him. All right. Yep. So winners buy, losers sell. The Browns have acknowledged that they're looking to trade Kareem Hunt now that his value has fallen off the map, hoping to get a fourth round, which they will never get.
Wow.
All right, here's the deal. I've broken this show down real simply. I'm comparing the organizations, and I'm going to say for the sake of argument that there isn't enough of a track record on the Guardians as far as, it was an exhilarating season, but to be honest with you, they have nurtured starting pitching very well, and they've nurtured their bullpen very well. But all of the people who were supposed to be the major contributors from their minor league organizations have been busts. Like Nolan. What is Nolan's last name? He's the third baseman who never has turned out to be anything. He came up for X number of games this year, enough times to strike out. You have Benson, who was the top pick from 6 years ago, and he came up and did a whole lot of nothing except made a few nice catches. And the funny thing is that the organizational guys who nobody was talking about within the organization, the Stephen Kwans, the Will Bensons, Will Brennan, and that group of players, and even Andres Jimenez, who, nobody was sure that he could hit the ball. And the people who were the top, and then really Gabriel Arias is the other guy who is one of the top-rated guys who we did see a little bit at the end of the year, but has a long swing. So I'm going to put them into the unproven category because they could be a one-hit wonder. So I'm going to compare directly the Cleveland Browns and the Cleveland Cavaliers and explain to you as a backup to what I have been saying, that one organization has earned your respect and trust, and the other organization just needs to go away. All right. Or you need to go away from it, or just not take it so fucking seriously. All right. The first thing is the front office, which starts with the owner. The owner brings in his front office people because the owners don't know shit. They know how to count their money, and they know how to get a really good tax guy, but they don't know anything about the sport that they're owning in. Let's be honest about that. So they have to bring in people who are experts, and that's where things get really interesting. In this ownership alone with Jimmy Haslam, we've had a number of front offices that went from, Dorsey's I'm going to do what I feel is the right vibe in the room, to now the strictly analytics guys who do their thing. The front office, the design of a front office is not win today. When you take over as a front office, you're going to be met with a lot of challenges. And I'm going to start with the Cleveland Cavaliers because I think twice they've had the challenge of having drafted LeBron James basically out of high school and then bringing him back yet a second time. And each time he left, the organization was left in a big crater. And how Dan Gilbert and his front office has chosen to deal with their situations. And I think the important thing to start out with is to take a look at the Cavaliers draft picks, because it all starts really with getting players, not just by trading for them, but by drafting the guys who definitely connect, who are really players, who are impact players. You take a look at the Cavaliers all the way back when LeBron first left them. Well, first you can go when we got LeBron back the second time. We drafted Andrew Wiggins, number 1. All right. And he was, number 1 overall pick. And he never had a chance to play with the Cavaliers, of course, because the Cavaliers front office basically felt that it was smarter to move him to the Timberwolves and get Kevin Love, a second superstar player, a guy who was such a solid NBA player that would accompany LeBron on the run, which turned out to be the run to our one and only championship. Not just the Cavaliers, but the whole fucking city. So there you have it. So 2015 was a complete zilch year because we did what we did to get Kevin Love and to bring the best veteran players into the organization. So we drafted Tyus Jones out of Duke, who was a bust, and Sir Dominic Pointer, who was one of the Pointer sisters who changed their sex. And neither of those players were impact players. Then LeBron, after the championship, it all fizzles. We're left with crazy Kyrie, and LeBron's gone to LA and taking his talents there. And we got to start all over again. And what do? We draft Colin Sexton. All right. Now, Colin Sexton was an 8th pick. So it wasn't like we had a very good pick as far as and they say, if you don't have any of the first 3 or 4 guys, it drops off substantially. And so I looked back at the 2018 draft and I said, well, what could we have done better? Here's what was number 1 and down. DeAndre Ayton was out of Arizona, and he's become an all right player, but I wouldn't say that he is a breakthrough kind of guy. Marvin Bagley III, who has bounced around the league, was the number 2 pick. And then the monster, Luka Doncic, which he is obviously the real deal. And the funny thing is, Luka was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, who traded him rapidly because they didn't think he was for shit. Memphis then took Jaren Jackson Jr. Dallas then took Trae Young, and then the swap took place. And Trae Young has been a very, very good player for Atlanta. Number 6, Orlando had Mo Bamba, who, yo mama, Mo Bamba, whatever. Then Chicago at 7 took Wendell Carter Jr. out of Duke, who has really never emerged as anything, setting the tone for the Cavaliers getting Colin Sexton. I can make the argument that Colin Sexton's been better than Carter Jr., better than Mo Bamba, better than Jaren Jackson Jr., better than Marvin Bagley III. All right? I can make that clear argument statistically. So they hit on that, considering they had the number 8 pick. Now, what was below him? Well, the Knicks took the Kevin Knox, which was one of the worst picks in history. Then Michael Bridges, then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Miles Bridges, the other Bridges guy, then Lloyd Bridges, and his son Bo Bridges. No. Miles Bridges then was at 12, Jerome Robinson, Michael Porter Jr., who immediately had to have back surgery. So looking down below, I can honestly say it's not like there is anything better than Colin Sexton, so the Cavaliers hit it good. So I consider that a successful draft. 2019 draft comes around, and in 2019, we have 2 picks. And we get Darius Garland, who was the number 5 pick overall. And then we got Dylan Windler at 26, and nobody expects to get very much out of 26. And Dylan Windler has pretty well proven that to be the case. But looking at the 2019 draft, and I do the same thing, the monsters at the top. Zion Williamson, who I think has been a disappointment, not because of his skill level, but because he's hurt all the time. Ja Morant, who's just a beast. Memphis got him, of course. Then the 3rd pick was R.J. Barrett. We just got done seeing him play for the Knicks. Then DeAndre Hunter, then Darius Garland. So if I'm looking at Darius Garland, I'd rather have Darius Garland than Zion Williamson. And the reason he plays an important integral position of being a ball handler and a table setter. But you'll see in a minute why this is a better pick than Zion Williamson, which was the sexy pick. Ja Morant was the best pick because he was the best player in the draft. But I can make an argument that Darius Garland is better than R.J. Barrett and DeAndre Hunter. And that's who went 3 and 4. I can also say he's better than Jarrett Culver, Kobe White, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, who we've seen already with Washington, Cam Reddish, Cameron Johnson. You have to go all the way to 13 to Tyler Herro, who ended up in Miami, to be an impactful player coming off the bench. And so Darius Garland is better in this instance than 2 of the guys who are above him in the draft. That's what you call another solid hit. And that's, so now we have 2 guys who are, on the small side, but you got your backcourt all set up. Then you come back and you say, all right, it's 2020. We need to pick, and we got the 5th pick, and we go with Isaac Okoro. And Okoro will definitely be a fly in the ointment to a lot of people. This was a tough draft, folks. Anthony Edwards, and Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves got the best player in the draft, clearly, and he's been a prolific scorer for them. Next, Golden State got the James Wiseman, who
hasn't played.
That's right. I mean, what the hell? LaMelo Ball, who, he's done all right, but I mean, you're looking at a Charlotte team that has just gone nowhere. And I would not say that he's that good a ball player. Patrick Williams, who I believe went to Chicago, and then Okoro. Well, I'm not going to sit there and tell you that Okoro is that good a ball player. But if I look what's below him, and the Hawks took Okongwu, Detroit took Killian Hayes, the Knicks, we just got done seeing Obi Toppin, who's been nothing, Denny Avdija for Washington, Jalen Smith for Phoenix, Devin Vassell for San Antonio. You have to go down to Tyrese Halliburton to even see a guy who put time in and could put the ball in the basket as a guy coming off the bench, as a fast scorer. Cole Anthony at 15 is the only other guy that you would have really heard of. Consequently, the Cavaliers at 5 in a weak draft didn't get a great player, and with the exception of the Timberwolves, neither did anybody else. Now we move up and we say it's 2021, and the Cavaliers have gotten had an opportunity to draft 3rd. Cade Cunningham went 1st. Jalen Green went 2nd. Evan Mobley came to Cleveland. Scotty Barnes came from Toronto. Then Jalen Suggs went to Orlando, and so on. Evan Mobley is better than Cade Cunningham and better than Jalen Green. Both Detroit and Houston went for the volume shooting, athletic as hell guy, and both of those guys are shooting 41 to 42% from the floor and have not made their teams better. All right. Evan Mobley, on the other hand, is shooting the ball at a 51% clip and is averaging 15.1 points a game, as opposed to Cade Cunningham, who averages 17.9 in his career. And Mobley is getting rebounds and doing all sorts of things, playing with the people around him. Scotty Barnes was judged to be a better rookie. I'm not going to get into that story right now. He plays for a good team in Toronto. Jalen Suggs has turned out to be what we knew he was, a defense first, can't shoot guy. Josh Giddey, that's when he inhales helium. Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner, we just got done seeing. He's a nice player, but I'm going to tell you that Evan Mobley is better than Cade Cunningham, better than Jalen Green. And again, Cleveland hit big time on this draft. Front office is doing its job. Now in the 2022 draft, all right, and, I look at the 2022 draft and I say, Cleveland picked at 14. We had a surprise season last year, and that's great. But you're not going to get shit down at 14. And Agbaji was our pick. We've seen Banchero out of Duke. He looks like a player. That's a good pick for Orlando. Chet Holmgren never even made it into the league, and that was the number 2 pick by Oklahoma City. They needed that like a kick in their groin. And then you've got guys like Jabari Smith Jr., Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivan. These are not people who are just ripping it up for their respective teams. The reason I go through this history is because at a crossroads, the Cavaliers did something that was very, very significant. You got to take a shot when you got a shot when you're a mid-market team. It's one thing if you're a team like the Golden State Warriors who have all these funds that are flowing in and you can just keep getting people, or the Lakers. You could just keep getting people. You have one chance to do something that really can make your team special. And this is why it's so important to draft well, because we ended up taking some of the people that we picked, including that pick that was a good pick at the time, Colin Sexton, and pieced together a deal in which we gave up Lauri Markkanen, who's a really good ball player, did a nice job for Cleveland, but he's injury prone.
Yeah.
He's off to a good start this year. And like I said, we put together a bunch of players, including Agbaji, one of our other guys that we picked, in order to get our hands on a viable, absolute, guaranteed superstar. And you're seeing the benefits of that now, Cleveland fans, of what an organized front office does. You can't judge the pick of Colin Sexton, who some of the fans were actually saying was better than Donovan Mitchell, and it's like, you folks have just got no fucking eyeballs.
No fucking way.
Well,
people
you're too loud. You scared the shit out of me, Bronk. Turn your mic down.
Oh, I'll move away from the
Holy
mic.
cannoli. I almost shit myself.
People saying Colin Sexton is better than Donovan Mitchell is like saying, I don't know. I can't even come up with a...
But this is why you draft the way you draft. Somebody puts up stats, does nicely, and the next thing you know, you can package him in a deal, and you're one shot. And the New York Knicks just handed it to us on a platter. We just got done with the Knicks, and you're telling me
that game last night.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Brunson, that's the guy that they went to all kinds of trouble to get their hands on, and that they're being investigated by the league for tampering. That guy has no hops whatsoever.
Yeah, he's a role player. He ain't a starting player.
Well, he is for them, and they wanted somebody out front and all that. But you don't pass up in this league. You don't pass up the superstar. You don't pass on that. It's just a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So now the Cavaliers sit where they sit because they took the chance when they needed to. Now, hold this thought because I'm going to read something to you that is the comparison. Cleveland Browns decide that they're going to go to an analytics-based front office. And I won't even get into the problems they had with Dorsey and the disruptions and how that fell apart so quickly. Here's the quote from today. Browns receiver coach, I didn't even know they had one, Chad O'Shea. Quote, I'm still really excited about the future of Anthony Schwartz. The big news for the Browns coming into tonight's game is that Schwartz has been reactivated, even though he was a healthy scratch last week, because he fucking sucks.
Oh.
Right? And so now, see, what we're doing here is we're just trotting on already busted up soil. Anthony Schwartz is never going to be a player. I'm sorry. I've never seen a guy come into the league who's unable to run his patterns, unable to keep his feet, unable to catch the ball, who suddenly gets it in year 3. Go to hell. That just doesn't happen. All right.
Correct.
So the justifications continue to roll in from the excuse-making Browns position coaches, their head coach, and from the front office.
Well,
Here's
why
another
can't they admit that they're wrong? Why can't they just say we were wrong, and cut him? They didn't have to come out and say they're wrong. Just get rid of him,
Well, they could have, but they don't. Here's another thing. Myles Garrett admits he should have taken more than one game off after his car accident. Fuck you. Fuck you. I am so sick and tired of this whole charade. And CO Dad, we are talking about Browns now.
Oh, but it's painful. It is painful. Let's talk about something that isn't painful. The Cavaliers.
No, I'm comparing something.
I know you are.
Get people to understand. While other teams are getting quality players like Roquan Smith and moving ahead.
I love him. I think he's brilliant.
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, that's right. Teams are building and still getting stronger. The Cleveland Browns are sitting with their thumb up their ass, trying to justify the mistakes of 3 years ago, and with a flake who's supposed to be the greatest pass rusher in the history of the Browns, statistically, who now admits, well, I should have taken more than one game off. And that's his way of saying, well, if I suck for the rest of the year, so be it. That's, I tried to take one for the team. Fuck this whole team. Yeah. Who needs it? Who needs the aggravation? I mean, I could have told you he shouldn't have played. I told you what his injury was.
Yep. Yeah, you did. Several injuries, in fact. Yep.
So, that's the big payoff, and we have to play a team that's ready for us, and so that nobody can say I didn't talk about the Browns. The Browns are going to lose. The Browns are going to get slaughtered, lose. The game isn't going to be close. This team isn't being coached, and I'm going to continue with my comparisons. I'm going to take a look at yesterday's Cavaliers game and CO2 or CO Dead. If you want to die and go somewhere else and listen to somebody else, you can do that, because I'm going to continue on this tack because it's the right tack to take. In-game adjustments.
Yes. Okay.
I can't begin to tell you how many times the Cleveland Browns go into the locker room at half, either ahead or right in the game, and the other team somehow figures out, hey, we can run the football with the second string running back. Or all the different things of, we can make these adjustments to these short passes because they're overreacting to everything. And we just keep lumbering along doing the same bullshit. And, the scripted plays seem to work, but then the longer you get into the game, and why do you think we can't come back in the fourth quarter of games? You wanted to blame Baker Mayfield. Now you're going to blame Jacoby Brissett. The fact of the matter is, there's nothing in reserve.
Yeah.
there's nothing that the head coach and the offensive coordinator he's not even an offensive coordinator. I don't know what the fuck.
I don't know what what does he do, man? What does he do?
I don't know. But it's obviously the way that the front office wants it, you see, and the way the owner wants it. Nobody has power. Nobody has traction. And so there's no communication in the organization. And they allow Myles Garrett to play when he's clearly injured. And they make bad decisions over and over and over again. Last night's game, if you are like CO dead and you are dead to the real world that's going on, the living world, not the dead one, you should have watched the game last night.
Definitely. It was one of the best games you'd ever want to see.
Cavaliers get off to, New York comes out and hits them with a good punch. They come back.
Yeah.
But then second quarter, the Knicks start to pull away. But then, we go into the locker room and we're down and something has to change. But Bickerstaff comes out and says, we're going to see what happens. He brings out the team in the third quarter. And the guy who scored 41 points the night before, Karis LeVert,
could do nothing.
Well, you know what I call it? I coin some of the best phrases and don't get credit for them.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's a LeVert revert. He reverts back to the Karis LeVert that we know, as opposed to the 41 point.
I was just waiting for you to rip on him today because he had the 41 points the other night, and then yesterday
had a terrible game.
He was like, he's now, because Roe versus Wade has been canceled, he's now illegal in Ohio. That's how bad he was last night.
It was hot garbage.
He had to get back to his average. The 41 was too
high.
Right.
Oh, and it was hilarious that they had the over and under on his points. Did you see that? Where the betting, the Bally Sports thing had like plus 16 Karis LeVert. Like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I was yelling at them not to do that. It was crazy. He was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess part of the whole way I feel about this, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of doing something on the fly here that maybe I shouldn't be doing, but what the hell, I'll do it. The bottom line here is that something had to give because we come out in the third quarter and the Knicks just take us behind the woodshed and give us a thrashing.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to go to bed. It was like 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning here. And I just saw the Knicks pounding the fuck out of us in the third quarter. And I go, no, I'm going to give this game a chance. Eventually the Knicks will stop missing these miracle shots that they're putting up. And our defense will get a little better. And maybe we can come back and make it close. Little did I know.
Right. It's really funny. Rick George brings up the fact that Kevin Love has been a Cav for 9 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Which is crazy.
But again, it's a credit to the front office.
Yes.
They were told not to keep this guy because he makes too much money. But knowing that they were cultivating a young, new team, they kept him along as a veteran presence who could help the team. And so what does J.B. Bickerstaff do? He says, I'm taking a look at this, and LeVert's playing like hot garbage, and Jared Allen isn't protecting the rim. Yeah, they're getting layups.
He was getting killed.
Just getting, they go to reverse layups, and he wasn't in position. He kept saying,
and Robinson,
it's my fault. It was bad. And LeVert got to the point where he was so frustrated that he couldn't put anything in the hole that he started turning the ball over.
Yeah.
Bickerstaff says, okay, fuck this shit.
Yep.
I'm going to put in a smaller lineup. And the smaller lineup he puts on the floor, of course, has Donovan Mitchell, and which is a good thing to have. It had Jetty Osman on the floor, who can be a bit of a spaz. And then you had Isaac Okoro, who can play defense but can't shoot straight. You have Kevin Love, and then you have Evan Mobley, and that's your five. And you're like saying, well,
we'll see.
There goes the winning streak. But at least let's try something different.
Yeah.
But you want to know something? Tom Thibodeau was absolutely hypnotized by the change and couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
It's like he told them, you got to push the ball up the floor. And the Cavaliers just guarded them
Up
defensively. I mean, like, it was unbelievable. They were all over them, and there was nothing that wasn't contested.
Yep.
And then you look at Kevin Love, who was told to go into the game and shoot.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely knackered. He was dead with like 3-4 minutes to go, and you could tell that he was like absolutely physically exhausted, and he was still putting in good threes at that point in the game. He looked absolutely
Gassed.
whacked
Yeah.
out.
You know, and my feeling is that you put a guy in the game for a reason. He can rebound and he can shoot. But at this point in his career, he's not going to stay with anybody really, footwork wise, speed wise. You know, it's a little.
Yeah, but he's smart though. He still guarded people. Just
Well,
by
he
being
still took
smart.
charges. He's smart.
Yeah,
he knows what he's
exactly.
doing out there. But yeah, getting him to shoot. He shot one air ball, and everything else went in. And and it was like, thank God he's on the floor. And then Donovan Mitchell, who is the true superstar. Okay, this is. I mean, if you're looking at Darius Garland, who hopefully will be coming back on Wednesday, if you look at a guy like Darius Garland, who was an all-star, and you compare him to Donovan Mitchell, it's not close.
Yeah, it's like comparing Zeus to some lesser god. You know, there's
That's
gods,
right.
but
I mean,
Zeus is Zeus. You know.
Go ahead, Peter.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say anything.
Oh, okay.
Or I was, but I didn't want to pivot from where we're at right now.
All right. You know, so right off the bat, a simple in-game adjustment. The Cavaliers outscore them 37-15 in the fourth quarter and win going away. And
amazing.
Yeah, what in-game adjustments have you seen from the Cleveland Browns? The answer is zip, because it's all analytics guys who've already predetermined what the strategy is going to be for the whole game, no matter what happens in the game, and they don't deserve anything except what they get in the end.
Yep.
Another
previous performance does not necessarily mean future performance. That's the little warning you get on hedge fund adverts, you know? And that's what should be the warning on analytics, on pro football, or any other fucking sport. Previous performance does not guarantee future performance. You know, you gotta actually have some skill.
And then there's the other thing of it all, and that's reinforcement. When you take guys like Jared Allen out of the game because they're not doing the job they're supposed to do, they sit down and they watch, and as a result of that, the positive reinforcement of the situation, the team wins, and the guys who are on the bench really feel like they can make a true contribution to the team.
God, yeah. Dean Wade, man, was immense. Yeah.
I said Jetty Osmond. I meant Dean Wade. That was the fifth guy on the floor.
Immense. I mean,
especially coming off that Celtics game, I didn't think he played as good as he could have. But for him to bounce back and play how he did yesterday, especially in the fourth when it was getting close, he played really good.
Yeah. Dean Wade played good defense, and he made his threes, and he became the floor spacer that we want him to be. Excellent. And the positive reinforcement is that after every game, one player gets a junkyard dog chain that he can wear, and that makes somebody who didn't score 40 some odd points feel like that they are being credited.
Loved. You are loved. Yes.
Yeah.
You are
being
loved.
credited when the team is winning, and we all play together, all for one, one for all.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And then the same thing is true of what we hear for the Browns all the time. Well, you know, it's next man up. And it's like next man up means not just that somebody gets hurt and carried off the field and you got to come in and then play with yourself and let your man beat you every time.
Beat you like a fucking drum.
Yeah. Next man up means if somebody's having an off day and he's your teammate, you want to pick him up and you want to pick your whole team up. And that's the way it works. Next man up is when you tell Kevin Love, we need you to put the ball in the hole. We need you to, don't stop shooting. Just, we're going to get stops. Just keep shooting. and don't think about anything else. And he wasn't. Second he got his hands on the ball, man, he was going up with it. I mean, there was not a hesitation in the world.
The key part of that game, I thought, was right at the beginning of the fourth quarter when it was incredibly scrappy and both teams could not score and people were fighting and scrambling and crawling around on the floor. And then 3 minutes went by and finally the Cavs had like a breakthrough bucket. And that you could see the Knicks crumble right at that very moment, that they didn't have the heart to carry on. It was amazing.
Broke their backs, broke their spirit. And, Wednesday's game is going to be even more interesting because we went into Boston and maybe Boston didn't take us seriously on their home floor.
This is you
bet your ass game. They're going to.
This is going to be a tough game, man.
Yeah. They're going to come out and they're going to assert themselves. And that's the way it should be. Good teams playing good teams, playing hard. This is how your team gets better. The Cleveland Browns, on the other hand, losing all these games in a row and going in with the attitude of timidity and not believing that they can win and having a bunch of people surrounding them, whether it's players playing who shouldn't be playing because they're hurt, whether it's coaches who refuse to evaluate talent and to get people off the field if they're not contributing or if they're not playing well, or it goes to the draft itself, in which, look, how many years have we been trying to get the quarterback position right? We put together an offensive line and we got a better running back than we even thought we were going to get, Nick Chubb. My goodness. Then we got Kareem Hunt. It's like, we've got this formidable ground game. Now Kareem Hunt's on the way out.
Yeah.
Everything that happens is so brief in its nature because this team can't establish any positive momentum without breaking it themselves.
Well, I know we're well known for our losing the opener stat, but a stat that they may pull out tonight, I don't know what the record is, but we are absolutely horrible in the month of October. I mean, even the years when we had Baker and, we're winning more games than losing them every week. I think the October record is absolutely abysmal. And that's because this team's got no depth and it's got no heart.
No, and it's all been sucked out of the players just because what's on top of them is a weight that they can't carry. And it's never going to change as long as Jimmy Haslam's at the top. And he's going to insist on the analytics, just like the schmuck who drafted Anthony Schwartz is going to keep him on the field. And meanwhile, other people are getting better and stronger by getting better players and getting their players to contribute more than the Browns, which is nothing more than forcing them to watch. And I don't know if I mentioned this on a previous show, but there were hours of game footage that they were forced to watch of every team they've played this year, how many broken tackles there were. So,
how's that going to help?
It humiliates all the people in the room.
How's that going to help?
And they feel bonded in their own failure. I mean, this is the worst organization, and they're deserving of every failure that they get. And the Cavaliers, on the other hand, have been ahead of the game. They've gotten younger players, and now with the superstar, they're in a position where they can go deep into the playoffs if they stay healthy.
That thing about making them watch these old missed tackles is like Aaron Boone making the Yankees watch the Red Sox beating them 3-4 or whatever, coming back from 3-0 up. I mean, what is the point of humiliating your players? People don't play better when they're humiliated. Workers don't work harder when they've been humiliated. You know that, move. I mean, it's basic man management that this fucking team fails on.
Now,
yeah, I wanted to circle back real quick to the Cavs because we didn't have a show to talk about it. But that Celtics game, for me, easily, I think, the best game this season. And I was just remembering just how in the first half you saw that, in my opinion, I think the refs were a little quick with the whistle, especially when you have 20 fouls in the first quarter. Yeah. And you saw them go to the half, and JB was able to calm his guys down, and then you see us play a much cleaner brand of basketball. And then we also witnessed what LeVert and Mitchell did in that fourth quarter and in the overtime. So that was a game I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. How do you give up 75 points in the first half and still manage to come back and win? That's like unheard of.
The thing that makes me proud of the team is that they don't give up, and there are a bunch of guys who are waiting to get their chance. And they're doing this with a combination of players that were not expected to be on the floor together.
Yep.
And without Darius Garland, who is their natural floor leader. And what is happening is Donovan Mitchell is getting acclimated to the guys he's playing with and is proving that he can play with the ball in his hands, with the ball out of his hands. He can go to the hole and finish with a dunk and thunder, or he can hang. He can draw fouls. He can hit the three. He's got a pure stroke. All of the things that make it worthwhile to watch a game. I mean, I'm not looking forward to watch Joe Burrow just waste the Cleveland Browns.
The thing about Mitchell, he's also just a guy. Like, I was a little bit worried that he's going to be a score first guy, and that's what he's brought in to do. But he's not selfish, and he's willing to play within the team structure.
Absolutely.
Now,
here's
those
passes he was making yesterday were unreal.
Oh, I mean, some of that is the no-look stuff. It's amazing.
Oh, it's just unreal.
But this headline, Donovan Mitchell shows the Knicks what they missed out on. Well, you wonder why Stephen A. Smith is constantly crying, screaming, ripping his hair out about the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have a shit organization with a shit front office. They draft shit. I mean, I told you about Kevin Knox. They keep drafting terrible people, and
give out
they
terrible contracts.
Yeah.
Could it possibly have been worth whatever they were holding out on with Donovan Mitchell to watch him go to Cleveland?
God.
I mean, how can you miss out on that when you have the resources monetarily that the goddamn Knicks have? How can you blow that? And the answer is the same way the Browns blow everything. The Knicks won't win, and the Browns won't win, because even when they get a certain player, it never works out the way they thought. Whatever it is, it is. But the idea of the Knicks seeing what they basically missed out on is so Knicks-like and so Browns-like. Here's another one for you if we want to talk about football. Everybody wants to talk about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's not playing now. So P.J. Walker's playing.
P.J. Walker is the man.
All right. And who else could have lost the way the Panthers lost except the Browns? And if you didn't see the game, it was amazing. The play that wins them the game, should have, is a long pass to Moore, and I will at a future day show the replay of that, of him giving the stiff arm push off, no different than Amari Cooper did, and there was no call because the game was on the line, and nobody cares about the Falcons, nobody cares about the Panthers. He catches the ball, and all he has to do is be happy and shut the fuck up. That's all he has to do. They kick the extra point and they win the game. There's 12 seconds left in the goddamn game. And they can't do that. They had the lead. They lost the lead by allowing Mariota to throw a pass where they forgot how to tackle. Then they come back with this bomb with 12 seconds left. Everything's perfect. The guy rips his helmet off, pulls a Dwayne Rudd. This is too fucking familiar for me. And they whistle him for 15 yards. Now the extra point's 48 yards long. The guy misses it left. But Marcus Mariota, being Marcus Mariota, he decides to give the Panthers one more chance. So on the very first play of overtime, what does he do? He throws an interception right into the hands of a Panther who returns the ball to the 20-yard line. Now they're 20 yards away from a touchdown, but the Panthers being the Panthers, they're not going to try to score the touchdown. They're just going to kind of cozy it up for the easy field goal. So you got a 32-yard field goal. Pinheiro, who I call Pendejo because he's a fucking asshole. The guy's a losing kicker. He shanks it to the left from 30 yards out. I don't know how you do that. Unless Lucy pulls the ball up, I don't know how in the fuck you do that. And they end up missing. And, you know, I will use a disparaged name, Brian Hallman, former panelist on the show. And this is the choice he made. He's got all of his Panthers gear. And I'll tell him what I just told you about the Browns. The Panthers are never going to win. The Panthers are still remembering the glory days of Cam Newton, who ended up having no glory at all. They've had nothing since, and they never will. They give away Christian McCaffrey, who promptly goes in and sets a new NFL record in his first game with the 49ers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Punt, pass, and kick or something. Like threw a pass, caught a pass, ran the ball, kicked the field goal, whatever. Yeah.
And, I don't, bad teams are going to be bad teams. They do bad things. And
and I was watching the Jacksonville game, and similarly, the Jaguars fucked up. They should have won that game.
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the league standings, it's always the same. The same teams are in the bottom. Same teams lose. They're the whipping boys of the league. And Double P, I don't know about Tony Busby. I don't know why his name is back in the news, but whatever the hell it is, that's fine. Busby is doing the young man. You mean he's? I hope not.
Yeah.
A guy who has an exposure problem in the league, Josh Primo, who exposed himself. That's good. I'm glad for Tony Busby. That's wonderful. Man's got to make a living, no matter how corrupt it is. Just ask Elon Musk. Your Twitter is really going to be great. I do want to point out that since Elon Musk bought Twitter, dropping N-bombs on Twitter is up 500%. But you see, he's not a Republican. Except now he's bringing Trump back to Twitter. Just let you know that these people are fucking liars and they're dangerous people. And, I broadcast this show to Twitter, and this is what I say to Twitter. I can lose them, they can lose me, and I could care less.
Yeah.
I could honestly care less. And I don't need to be lectured about thought control by a bunch of goddamn right-wing people who have the law enforcement people, overarmed. You've got citizens overarmed. You've got, you've got groups of hate groups.
Can I make a comment about all that?
Yes.
It's not just America. Here, there's a BBC article posted today about there's people in England that are harassing victims of the Ariana Grande bombing that happened in Manchester a couple of years ago, claiming that those people that were injured were not injured and are actually crisis actors.
Yeah,
Can
right.
you fucking believe that?
That's Alex Jones and Sandy Hook.
That's been exported here to England. And I felt like posting it on my wall.
It's because it works.
No, I don't want to give it any fucking air. But these assholes have made their way over here, So America exports the shit that it makes.
It's hate.
It should be fucking
it's just pure hate. And look, I'm going to tell you something else. And, outside of the Florida-Georgia football game, projected on a building were the words running across like a crawler, Kanye was right about the Jews.
Wow.
While at the same time on Interstate 10 in Jacksonville, signs were hanging over overpasses on the interstate saying, honk if you believe it's all because of the Jews. Now, I'll be honest with you. I was born into a Jewish home. I'm not a practicing Jew. I really don't care about religion, but I know what scapegoating is, and I know what historical figures do, and I know when they're doing it, and they're doing it now.
Well, it's not just America; it's happening everywhere. And anyway, let's talk about something slightly lighter, if we could.
Yeah, sure. But again, if you want to see who's doing well, I mean, the Titans, Derrick Henry, beat up the Houston Texans. I mean, it's always the whipping boys who, he tied a record held by O.J. Simpson, which was the most people murdered by a knife. and Adrian Peterson, the most children whipped with a switch in the private parts. Henry had 219 yards by himself against the Houston Texans.
Wow.
Congratulations to both he and the Texans. Here's another great one. Stephon Diggs and Jair Alexander start talking trash early, but they dispute who finished it. The thing that's amazing is Buffalo won the game. I don't understand. And Stephon Diggs had a great game.
Yeah.
Jair Alexander, the cornerback for the Packers, his team lost for the fourth time in a row. Why do we have to act? I mean, why would he dispute who finished it? The Bills finished it because they're a team, and the goddamn Packers are a bunch of boho individuals. And when you have players who are in it just for themselves, that's it. That's it. And you have Geno Smith, who beat the Giants. They might be Giants. The Giants were due to lose. I think the Giants are going to lose a lot more. Brian Daboll likes the taste of that. We know that. He came through Cleveland. Geno Smith is playing nicely for the Seahawks. They're 5-3 this year. But Geno Smith had class and said he's not going to say anything bad about his former team, the Giants. But winning is winning and losing is losing. So before we get out of here, I think we have to pick the Browns game. I will say this. The injury report says it all.
Yeah, who's inactive? I haven't looked.
Ruled out David Njoku, Wyatt Teller. Denzel Ward's got a concussion and will for the next probably 3 weeks. Offensive tackle Joe Haig, who it was a backup offensive tackle, is gone for the year on injured reserve.
Wow.
Pharaoh Brown is still coming. Is dealing with a concussion in the neck. Greg Newsome, an oblique. Owusu Koromoa, a knee, and Greedy Williams. All these guys again: Pharaoh Brown, Newsome, Koromoa, and Greedy Williams are questionable. And you say, what's wrong with Greedy Williams? It's an illness. Does a guy ever fucking play?
No.
Just make it stop and go away.
No.
And of course, Njoku initially wouldn't rule himself out for Monday, but to hell with that. He's got a high ankle sprain. Harrison Bryant, and this is the trash talking bullshit athletes that the Browns have. Njoku's, he has to be a part of the conversation. Sit down and let the swelling go down and shut the fuck up. Tight end Harrison Bryant is next in line. It's not going to be great. And then we have Miller Forrestall. If you don't remember him from the preseason, there's a reason why you didn't remember him.
Wasn't he Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? Didn't he do that?
Miller Forrestall. I have no idea.
It's a great,
sounds like a great name
Kingdom
for a lumberjack. Name. That's what it sounds
great
like.
Name. Yeah.
At cornerback, the Browns could be down as many of 3 of their top players. and we're supposed to have solace in the fact that Jamar Chase isn't going to play. He don't need to play.
Hey, Burrow doesn't need to play, really.
Yeah, and Halt-Hey Froholt is going to be starting right. And his wife Frau Blucher. I can't find anybody who thinks the Browns going to win this game. Well, honest to God, except Ron Shane. Ron Shane believes the Browns are going to win. Hallelujah. Well,
I would be amazed. I'm going to watch because the time change. You're an hour earlier, and this football game is an hour earlier. I'm going to watch the first half. So I don't know where Big Lurker is. Maybe he forgot that you were starting an hour earlier this week, and he's not around. But
yeah, you can watch the first half because believe me, it'll be over by then. It'll be over. They got nothing left in them. Rick May saying 31-17 Bengals. Radu is saying he took the Bengals 38-20. And call me naive. Double P wants the Browns to win 27-23 as much as he possibly can.
I mean, you're a nice guy, Double P. That's okay.
That's right. I mean, then you have basically NFL.com is saying the Browns are going to lose, but we kind of know that. 27-20, they're saying the score will be. The Bleacher Report says 28-24 Bengals. PFT, is saying the same thing. Is they're all giving scores that seem to be fairly close, but honestly are not.
No.
I think they're being polite.
The Browns are going to get 10 points maximum. Now, the odds of the Browns winning with just 10 points is basically nil. So it depends on how good a game Burrow has to how badly beaten we're going to be. So I'm going to say Browns 10, Burrow 33.
And Pro Football Talk has it 35-30 Bengals. To me, it's really insignificant what the score is. It's a loss is a loss is a loss.
Well, it's an embarrassment. This game is broadcasted throughout the entire fucking
and that's
world.
The way it should be. They should be humiliated all the way across the world.
They're going to be humiliated. I mean, there's somebody in the chat in Australia. Well, it's probably going to be like 8, 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning. So they can flip on their morning coffee and watch the Browns get their ass whooped. Isn't that great?
Double P, I'd like to have the Phillies win. But I have no prognostication.
The Astros aren't winning if they're not cheating. They are the New England Patriots of the fucking Major League Baseball. Yeah.
To me, right now, the Bengals have their confidence. The early sacks that hindered Joe Burrow, they've made adjustments to their offense. They're getting rid of the ball quicker. And so the Browns aren't going to be able to get to Burrow. And the fact of the matter is, Burrow's licking his chops, knowing he's playing a team that is really on the outs and heading down the shitter. This game isn't going to be close, and I don't want the Bengals to win.
No, neither do I.
I think this is going to be the ultimate runaway train, and I could see this game being like 41-17, something really bad.
Yeah,
like another thrashing like we had by New England. Things are on the wrong arc for this team, and I just don't see. What are you going to do? You're going to play Kareem Hunt now that you've told the world that he's for sale cheap?
Yeah, I mean, did the same thing to Mayfield, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a real bad situation, and
I think we need to change the mood, though. We should do Peter Alice doing last night's basketball game, for the mentioning Stephen A. Smith or something.
I'll tell you something. Tom Thibodeau needed some Pepto. He always looks like he's got a severe bellyache, and he was up by 15 points, and it looked so good, and instead it turned into a big floating piece of shit in the fourth quarter. When they 37-15, why did they even bother playing? That's what I have to say about that. I mean, it's got to be that was crushing. To have that go that way.
You know who Thibodeau looks like? He looks like one of those minions with that comb over that he's got. He looks like a giant minion with that hair he's got.
Yeah,
Just put a big goggle on his head.
Yeah. Well, it's time for me to go because I got to eat my meal, then I got to watch the Browns, and I got to eat light because indigestion follows the Browns
while you're
game.
Watching the game.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in to this edition of Moohead Radio. Thank you, Bronk. Thank you, Double P. And thanks to all the fans who support the program. Just trying to level with y'all. It's not that I want the Browns to lose, but they earn it from the top of the organization. The fans don't deserve this. The fans deserve better. Thanks again. I'll be back again. Not tonight. No halftime, no post-game show. I'll be back again on Friday. I want to get as far away from this stench as I possibly can.
And
Thanks
we'll
a lot.
Cavs and the Celtics.
Yeah, I'll see you at the end of the week. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Boo.